We will the pros and cons of these strategies, and we will discuss for sure which are the main factors that affect a firm's choice of strategy. I will prefer that during my lecturing to have an active participation from the students. So I prefer the question to be done during my presentation. So I will ask you sometimes just to be more interactive and to make the lecture more attractive, so for all of us. So feel free to ask me and to interrupt me wherever you want. So I decided to start with an opening case, very interesting when we talk about strategies of international business. It's Ford's company. I'm sure that all of you are familiar. It's okay. Are you
Yep.
familiar with this company?
Ford. Yeah,
Okay.
Ford.
So I
Yes.
will start from the beginning of the strategy. So when the CEO of Ford, Alan Mulally, arrived at the company in 2006 after a long career at Boeing company, he was shocked to learn that the company produced one Ford Focus for Europe and one Ford Focus for the United States. And he said, can you imagine having one Boeing 737 for Europe and one Boeing 37 for the United States? So due to this product strategy, Ford was unable to buy common parts for the vehicles, and he couldn't share development costs, and he couldn't use its European focus plans to make cars for the United States or vice versa. So in a business where economies of scales are important, the result was high cost. So the strategy of designing and building different cars for different regions was the standard approach at Ford. So at the time, Ford company was implementing and was focused on a localization strategy. And this strategy was based on the assumption that customers that were located in different regions had different tastes and preferences. So this required considerable local customization. For example, we all know that Americans love big and large cars, so they love having their trucks, while European prefer smaller cars, more fuel efficient cars. So Alan Mulally still couldn't understand why small cars like the Focus, which was sold in different regions, were not built on the same platform and didn't share common parts. Moreover, the strategy probably had more to do with the autonomy of different regions within Ford's organization. So a fact that was deeply embedded in Ford's history as one of the oldest multinational corporation. Um, During the financial crisis around 2008, 2009, Mulally decided that Ford had to change its long-standing practices in order to get its costs under control. So, moreover, he felt that there was no way that Ford would be able to compete effectively in the large development market of China. So he decided to implement the so-called One Ford strategy. I don't know if you heard about that, that aims to create a handful of car platforms that Ford can use everywhere in the world. So under this strategy, new models such as 2013 Fiesta, Focus, and Escape share a common design. They are built on a common platform, and they use the same parts and are built in identical factories around the world. So he decided to adopt a global international strategy. So by using this strategy, Ford have the possibility to share the cost of design and tooling, and it can obtain much greater scale economies in the production of component parts. So moreover, since the different factories producing these cars are identical in all aspects, useful knowledge acquired through experience in one factory can quickly be transferred to other factories. And so this results in system-wide cost savings. And it is very important for a company. So what Ford hopes in the future is that this strategy will bring down costs sufficiently in order to enable Ford to make greater profit margin in developed markets and to make good margin at lower price. But what is strategy? I want to ask students if you can give me some definition. What is strategy? What do we mean about why we say a specific firms must pursue or implement a specific strategy? What is strategy?
I believe
Yes,
it's that,
Jessica?
yeah, I don't know, but I think it's something you plan and try to make um, achieve something. You make a plan and you are going to do something with that.
Yes, good. Yeah. Other opinion? Thank you, Jessica. So, a firm strategy is defined as the action that managers take into account in order to obtain the goal of the firm. So, for most of the firm, the goal is to maximize the value of the firm for its owners and its shareholders. So, to maximize the value of a firm, managers must pursue strategies that increase the profitability of the enterprise and its rate of profit growth over time. So in one side, we have profitability that is defined as the rate of return that the firm makes on its invested capital, so ROIC. And this is calculated by dividing the net profits of the firm by the total invested capital. And the other component is profit growth, that is measured by the percentage increase in net profits over time. So in general, we can say that higher profitability and higher rate of profit growth will increase the value of an enterprise and thus the returns generated by its owners, the shareholders. Managers also can increase the profitability of the firm by pursuing strategies that lower costs or by pursuing strategies that add value to the firm's products. And these enable the firms to raise prices. And this is very important. So managers can increase the rate at which the firm's profits grow over time by pursuing strategies to sell more products in existing markets or by pursuing strategies to enter new markets. So expanding internationally help managers to boost the firm's profitability and increase the rate of profit growth over time. Um, in order to to increase the profitability of a firm, we have to consider that the way to increase it is to create more value. So the amount of value that firms create is measures by the difference between its cost of production and the value that customers perceive in its product. So in general, we can see that the more value customers place on a firm's products, the higher the price the firm can charge for those products. So However, the price a firm charges for a specific good or service is typically less than the value placed on that good or service by the customers. And this is because the customers usually capture some of that value that in the form of what economists call a customer surplus. The firm's value creation usually is measured by the difference between the value and the cost, so V and C. So a company creates value by converting inputs that cost C into a product on which customers place a value of V. So a company can create more value, so the difference V minus C, either by lowering production costs or by making the products more attractive through superior design, through styling, through features, after sales service, and so on. So that customers place a greater value on it and consequently are willing to pay a higher price for that product or service. So a firm has profit when it creates more value for its customers, and also at a lower cost. And this is very important. And we refer to a strategy that focuses primarily on lowering production costs as a low-cost strategy. And we refer to a strategy that focuses primarily on increasing the attractiveness of a specific product as a differentiation strategy. So according to Michael Porter, he argued that low cost and differentiation strategy are two basic strategies for creating value and obtaining a competitive advantage in an industry. Why is strategic positioning important? This is a very important issue to discuss. The figure illustrates his point. If you see, the convex curve is what economists refer to as an efficiency frontier. So the efficiency frontier shows all the different positions that a firm can adopt with regard to adding value to the product and low cost, assuming that its internal operation are configured efficiently in order to support a particular position. So the efficiency frontier has this convex shape because of diminishing return. So diminishing returns imply that when a firm already has a significant value built into its product offering, increasing value by a relatively small amount requires significant additional cost. Moreover, the converse also holds when a specific firm already has a low cost structure. So it has to give up a lot of value in its product, offering to get additional cost reduction. Also, we can see focusing on the figure plots three hotel firms. So industries, firms that operate in hotel industries with a global presence that cater to international travel. So we have Four Seasons, Marriott International, and Starwoods. For example, Four Seasons position itself as a luxury chain and emphasize the value of its product offering, which drives up its cost of operation. The other two firms, Marriott and Starwood, are positioned more in the middle of the market. Both of them emphasize sufficient value to attract international business travels, but are not luxury chains like Four Seasons. In the figure, Four Seasons and Marriott are shown to be on the efficiency frontier, and indicating that their international operations are well configured to their strategy and run efficiently. why do you think that Star Woods is inside the frontier? So why this positioning? How are
Be
running their its operation? Are running efficiently or not? What do you think about? And how are its costs? Okay, Starwoods is inside the frontier because its operation are not running efficiently comparing to the other two hotels, let's say. And also, this is according to its costs that are too high. And this implies that Starwoods is less profitable than the other two, and that its managers must take steps in order to improve the company's performance. This is very important. Another question or another issue to discuss is how are a firm's operation configured. The operation of a firm, we can say that can be thought as a value chain that are composed of a series distinct activities such as production, marketing and sales, materials management, R&D, human resources, information system, and firm infrastructures. Um, Usually, the operations of specific firms are categorized um, in order to the creation of value. They mostly are categorized into group. Let's say primary activities in one side and support activities in the other side. So, focusing on this figure, the primary activities, as we can see, have to do with the design, with the creation, with delivery of the product, its marketing, and its support and after-sale service. So, the primary activities are divided in four functions: research and development, production, marketing and sales, and customer service. What is research and development? When we heard this term, this concept, what do you think about?
can
What
you repeat the
yeah,
questions?
what is research and development as a part of primary activities?
Research, we need to research what you are going to do with the
Yes.
information we had acquired to do something.
Good. Thank you. Other opinion? So it is linked, it is concerned with the design of a product or production processes. So although we think that R&D is being associated with the design of a physical product or production process in manufacturing enterprises, many service companies also undertake R&D. For example, online banking and smart debit cards are two examples of product development in the banking industry. Earlier examples of innovation in the banking industry includes automatic teller machines, credit cards, or debit cards. So through superior product design, R&D can increase the functionality of products, and this makes them more attractive to consumers. So R&D may result in more efficient production processes and thereby cutting production cost. Okay, another important activity is production. What is production? What do we mean about production? Karina, for example, what is production?
Production, I think, is the the process to making another product.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So production is concerned with the creation of a specific good or service. So for physical products, when we talk about production, we immediately think about manufacturing. So we can talk about the production for an automobile. For in the other side, we have companies that operate in service sectors, such as banking or healthcare. So production in this case occurs when the service is delivered to the customers. For example, is the case when a bank originates a loan for customers, and in this case, it is engaged in the production of the loan. Other example for retailers such as Walmart, production is concerned with the selecting the merchandise, stock in the store, and so on. For the MTV, for example, that operate in service industry, production is concerned with the creation, with programming, with broadcasting of content, such as music, video, and so on. So the production activity of a firm creates value by performing its activity efficiently, so lower cost results, or by performing them in such a way that a higher quality product is produced. Another important activity is the marketing and sales function. Through brand positioning and advertising, the market function can increase the value that customers perceive to be contained in a firm's product. If this creates a favorable impression of the firm's product in the minds of customers, they increase the price that can be charged for the firm's product. So marketing and sales can also create value by discovering customer needs and communicating them back to the R&D function of the company, which can then design products that better match those needs. Regarding the support activities of the value chain offer inputs that allow the primary activities to occur. So we have information system. What do you mean by information system? Why information systems are important? Can you link it with the pandemic situation?
Yes, I believe the information system is, we need to adapt to what we have. Like the pandemic that we have caused many people to lost jobs and something like that. And with the information, we can now do the work from home.
Yeah,
Right?
is an example.
Like
Yeah. So when we refer to a specific firm, specific enterprise, we can say that electronic system is useful for information system is useful for managing inventory, for example, for tracking sales, for pricing product, for selling products, for dealing with customers, service inquiries, and so on. So Dell, for example, has used its information system in order to obtain a competitive advantage over other competitors. Another important activities is logistics. What do you mean by logistics? Have you heard about this concept, logistics?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it's when the product is distributed.
Yes.
I guess.
Uh-huh.
I think it's more about it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So it's a kind of function that controls the transmission of physical materials, so physical products, through a value chain. So from procurement through production and into distribution. So this is the main function of the logistics. So the efficiency with which this is carried out can significantly reduce costs and thereby can immediately create more value for a specific firm. And another important function is human resource. what is human resource? Why human resource is important? The presence of human resource is very important in a specific industry, in a specific enterprise. Why we say that human resource can help firms in order to create more value? Yes.
Because it will deals with the workers' interests, like take care of their part, I guess.
Okay, and more in particular is focused on skilled people, so skilled workers. So this function ensures that the company has the right mix of skilled people to perform its value creation activities more efficiently. So the human resource function also ensures that people are trained, are motivated, are compensated to perform their value creation task. And the final support activity is the company infrastructure. So the context within which all the other value creation activities occur. So the infrastructures includes the organizational structure, control system, and culture of the firm. Another question that arises is how can firm increase profits through international expansion? Usually we say that expanding globally, these allow firms to increase their profitability and rate of profit growth in ways not viable to domestic enterprises. So firms that operate internationally are able to, first of all, expand the market for their domestic product offering by selling those products in international markets, realize location economies by dispersing individual value creation activities to those locations around the globe where they can be performed most efficiently or effectively. Third, they can realize greater cost economies from experience affected by serving and expanding global markets from a central location, so reducing the cost of value creation. And the last, they have the possibility to earn a greater return by leveraging any valuable skills developed in foreign operation and then transferring to other entities within the firm's global network of operations. So starting with the first possibility in order to leverage the products and competencies, we can say that a specific firm, a specific enterprise can increase its growth rate by taking goods or services that are developed at home and selling them internationally. So when we focus on in practice of firms that operate internationally, most of them started out doing just this. So for example, Microsoft developed its software in the United States for selling it in international markets. Or automobile companies such as, for example, Volkswagen and Toyota also grow by developing products at home by then selling them in international markets. So the success of many multinational companies that expand in this way is based not just upon the goods or services that they sell in foreign nation, but also basing on their core competencies that underlie the development and marketing of those goods or services. The term core competencies refers to the skills that are embedded in the firms that competitors cannot easily match or imitate. And these skills may exist in every of the firm's value creation activities. So production, in R&D, in human resource, in logistics, in general management, and so on. So such skills are typically expressed in product offering that other firms find difficult to match or imitate. For example, Toyota has a core competence in the production of cars, so it is able to produce high quality, well-designed cars at a lower delivered cost than the other firms in the world. Or another example, McDonald's has a core competence in managing fast food operation. Second, why are location economies important? Location economies are the economies that arise from performing value creation activities in the optimal location for that activity. So wherever in the world might be the enterprise. So locating a value creation in the optimal location for that activity can have one of two effects. First of all, it can lower the costs of value creation and help the firm achieve a low cost position. And second, give the possibility to a firm in order to differentiate its product offering from those of competitors. Firms that take advantage of local economies in different parts of the world can create a global web of value of the value creation activities. So different stages of the value chain are dispersed to location where perceived value is maximized, or where the cost of value creation is minimized. Another issue, another question to discuss is why are experience effects so important? The figure you can see refers, so the experience curve represented by the figure refers to a systematic reduction in production costs that have been observed to occur over the life of a product. So there have been many studies that observe that manufacturing of a specific product costs decline by some quantity about each time cumulative output doubles. And we can see it through the figure. And the figure, moreover, illustrates this experience curve relationship between unit production costs and cumulative outputs. So in this case, we can say that two things explain this. First of all, learning effects, and the second, economies of scale. So in one side, we have learning effects that refer to cost savings that come from learning by doing. And in the other side, we have economies of scale. So that refers to the reduction in unit cost achieved by producing a large volume of products. So attaining economies of scales lowers a firm's unit cost and increases its profitability. The last question, how can manager leverage subsidiary skills? When we discuss the core competencies of a specific firms, the idea is that valuable skills are developed first at home and then for being transferred to foreign operations. So, however, for more mature multinational that have already established a network of subsidiary operation in foreign markets, the development of valuable skills can just as well occur in foreign subsidiaries. So skills can be created anywhere within a multinational's global network operations. So wherever people have the opportunity and the incentive to try new ways of doing things. So leveraging the skills created within subsidiaries and applying them to other operations within the firm's global network may create value, and this is very important. Moreover, for the managers of the multinational enterprise, this phenomena creates important new challenge. First of all, they must have the humility to recognize that valuable skills that lead to competencies can arise anywhere within the firm's global network, so not just at the corporate center. And second, they must establish an incentive system that encourage local employees to acquire new skills. Third, managers must have a process for identifying when valuable new skills have been created in that subsidiaries. And finally, they need to act as a facilitator. And this is very important because helping transferring valuable skills within a specific firm. Another issue to discuss is what types of competitive pressures exist in the global marketplace. This is an important issue because when firms compete in the global marketplace, typically face two types of competitive pressures, so that affect their ability to realize location economies and experience effects, and to leverage product and transfer competencies and skills within the enterprise. Most of the firms that operate globally, they face pressure for cost reduction and pressure to be locally responsive. So these competitive pressures place conflicting demands on a firm. So responding to pressures for cost reduction requires that a specific firm try to minimize its unit costs, but responding to pressures to be locally responsive requires that the firm differentiate its product offering, so and a marketing strategy from country to country in an effort to accommodate the diverse demand arising from national differences in customers, tastes and preferences, distribution channels, competitive conditions, and government policies, and so on. So because differentiation across countries can involve significant duplication and a lack of product standardization, it may raise costs. While some enterprises that operate globally, like for example, as you can see from the figure, a firm A face high pressure for cost reduction and low pressure for local responsiveness, and others, for example, such as firm B, face low pressure for cost reduction and high pressure for local responsiveness. Many companies are in the position of C. They face high pressure for both cost reduction and local responsiveness. In this case, dealing with these conflicting and contradictory pressures is a difficult strategic challenge, primarily because being locally responsive tends to raise costs, and they have to think about the preferences and the tastes of the domestic customers. So customers that refers to the host country. When are pressures for cost reduction greatest? This is a very important question. Pressure for cost reduction can be particularly intense in industries that are producing typically a commodity type of products where meaningful differentiation on non-price factor is difficult and price is the main competitive weapon. So this tends to be the case, for example, for products that serve universal needs. Have you heard about this term? What are universal needs?
There are needs that everyone or most people have, so they tend to do something.
But how are they comparing to different nations? So my preference compared to your preference for some specific products are different or are similar?
Depends. Some are different, some are equal.
For these needs, when we say universal needs, so it means
it's similar.
Are similar, yes, good. So this is the case for conventional commodity products such as, for example, petroleum, steel, sugar, and so on. So it also tends to be the case for many industrial and customer products. For example, semiconductor chips, personal computers, liquid crystal display screen, and so on. So pressure for cost reduction are also intense in industries when major competitors are based in low-cost location, and where there is persistent excess capacity, and where customers are powerful and face low switching costs. So the liberalization of the world trade and invested environment in recent decades, by facilitating greater international competition, has generally increased the cost pressure. Another question, when are pressures for local responsiveness greatest? So pressure for local responsiveness arise from national differences in customer taste and preferences, in infrastructure, in business practices and distribution channels, and from host government demand. So responding to pressures to be locally responsive requires a firm to differentiate its product and marketing strategy from country to country in order to accommodate these factors. So all of which tends to raise the firm's cost structures. So another important question is, which strategy should a firm choose? So we arrive at the end of the lecture, the most important part. Which are the strategy that a specific firms can choose in order to obtain a competitive advantage comparing to other competitors. So pressure for local responsiveness, we saw that it may not be possible for a firm to realize the full benefits from economies of scale, learning effects, and location economies. It may not be possible to serve the global marketplace for a single low-cost location, producing a globally standardized product and marketing it worldwide to obtain the cost reduction associated with experience effects, and the need to customize the product offering to local condition may work against the implementation of such industry. So firms typically choose among 4 strategies when competing internationally, and these can be categorized as a global standardization strategy, a localization strategy, a transnational strategy, and an international strategy. Okay. The 4 strategies are represented in the main figure. We start with the global standardization strategy. What is global standardization strategy? Have you heard about that?
Very probably, yes, but they are not associating these subjects to a curricular unit they had. It is introduction to management.
Okay.
I guess that they are not associating the figure.
No problem. No problem. It's typically the strategy that Ford pursued initially. So Ford started with this strategy. Do you remember at the beginning of the lecturing, I said that the CEO of Ford, when initially started working at Ford Industry, he was shocked about the idea that the Ford produce one Ford Focus for the Europe and one Ford Focus for the United States. So the product was manufacturing according to tastes and preferences, let's say, of the host country. So okay, no problem. What is global standardization strategy? It focuses on increasing profitability and profit growth by reaping the cost reduction that come from economies of scale. So learning effects and location economies. So the main activities the primary activities, in particular, production, marketing, R&D activities of firms, are concentrated in a few favorable locations. So firm pursuing a global standardization strategy try not to customize their product offering and marketing strategy to local conditions, because customization involves shorter production and the duplication of functions. So these tend to raise costs, and this is very important. So instead, these firms that adopt global standardization strategy, they prefer to market standardized product worldwide, so that they can reap the support aggressive pricing in world market. So this strategy makes more sense when there are strong pressure for cost reduction and demands for local responsiveness are minimal. So increasingly, these conditions prevail in many industrial goods in industries, so whose products often serve universal modes and universal needs, as we discussed initially. Okay, what is the other important strategy? Localization strategy. Localization strategy is focused on increasing profitability by customizing the firm's goods or services so that they provide, let's say, a good match according to the tastes and preferences in different national markets. So as we saw in the Ford case, so localization is most appropriate when there are substantial differences across nations with regard to customer taste and preferences, and where cost pressures are not too intensive. So by customizing the product offering to local demands, the firms have the possibility to increase the value of that product in the local market. So on the downside, because it involves some duplication of functions and smaller production runs, customization limits the ability of the firm to capture the cost reductions that is associated with mass production, standardized products for the global consumption. So this strategy, we can say that makes sense if the added value associated with local customization supports higher pricing. And this enables the firms to recoup its higher costs, or if it leads to substantially greater local demand, enabling the firms in order to reduce costs through the attainment of some skills economy in the local market. Let's go to the transnational strategy. Firms that pursue this strategy are trying to simultaneously achieve low cost through location economies, economies of scale, and learning effect. They try to differentiate their product offering across geographic markets to account for local differences. And as attractive as this may sound in theory, the strategy is not an easy one to pursue, since because it places conflicting demands on the company. So differentiating the product in order to respond to local demands in different geographic markets raises costs, and which runs counter to the goal of reducing costs. The fourth strategy is
Sorry, one question. The transnational strategy is like adapting the product to the customers.
No, localization.
No.
Localization.
Okay.
So in the localization strategy, you customize a specific product. So you build a specific product according to tastes and preferences of a specific customer.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
So the fourth strategy is international strategy. Sometimes it is possible to identify multinational firms that find themselves in the fortunate position, let's say, of being confronted with low-cost pressure or low-cost pressure for local responsiveness. So many of these enterprises have pursued an international strategy, taking products first produced for their domestic market and then selling them internationally with only minimal local customization. So the distinguishing feature of many such firms is that they are selling a product that serves universal needs, but they do not face significant competitors comparing to other firms that adopt other strategies. Unlike firms that pursue, for example, a global standardization strategy, they are not confronted with pressure to reduce their cost structure, and this is very important. Moreover, enterprises that pursue an international strategy have followed a similar development pattern as they expanded into foreign markets. So they tend to centralize product development functions such as the R&D at home. But however, they also tend to establish manufacturing and marketing function in its major country or geographic region in which they do business. So the resulting duplication can raise costs, and but this is less of an issue if the firm does not face, let's say, strong pressure for cost reduction. So although they may undertake some local customization of product offering and marketing strategy, this tends to be rather limited in scope. And finally, we can say that in most of the firms that pursue an international strategy, the head office retains fairly tight control over marketing and production strategy. And the last issue to discuss, very important, is how does strategy evolve? When we discuss the of international strategy, we must consider that over time competitors inevitably emerge. So, and if managers in this case do not take proactive steps to reduce their firm's cost structure, it will be rapidly outflanked by efficient global competitors. So the message in this story is that an international strategy may not be viable in the long term. And for this reason, to survive, firms need to shift toward a global standardization strategy or a transnational strategy in advance of competitors. So the same can be said about a localization strategy. So in this case, localization may give a firm a competitive edge. So, but if it is simultaneously facing aggressive competitors, the company will also have to reduce its cost structures. And the only way to do that may be to shift towards a transnational strategy. And this is, for example, the case of Procter & Gamble that has been doing this. So, concluding, as competition intensifies, international and localization strategy tend to become less viable. And so managers need to direct their companies toward either a globalization strategy or a transnational strategy.